Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, March 18th, 2014. I just want to announce that this meeting is being recorded, and we want to take a moment of appreciation for our brave servicemen and women that are serving our country in Afghanistan. Thank you. We have an appointment right away in just a minute or so with Nancy Irwin from the Plastic Bag Study Committee, and then we've got a number of action items to go over and permits to approve, and then we're going to turn the meeting over to the Warrant Committee when they have their hearing at around 7:30 or so, once we get through our action items here. So I think we'll start off with, we've got Nancy Irwin's here from the Plastic Bag Study Committee, and she wanted to chat with us a little bit about what's going on at the transfer station. So, yes.
I'm Nancy Irwin, and the Plastic Bag Study Committee is very new. It's only been in existence about 3 weeks or so, so I don't really have that much to talk about. The main thing, we are doing some research on plastic bags. Each of the committee members is doing a different thing, so I can't speak about everything. The main thing I wanted to discuss today, though, is the fact that we would like to go to the transfer station on Saturday, April 5th, and I do believe that we got permission to do that. And we have in the process of making sandwich boards to have 4 of us at a time, perhaps, wearing these sandwich boards to talk about basically plastic bags, because we do not want the plastic bags to be into single-stream recycling.
Okay, yep.
But while we were there, we thought perhaps we would talk about single-stream recycling as well. So we plan on the front of the sandwich boards to have the items that do go into single-stream. So cardboard and paper and plastics and the glass that originally held food or drink, aluminum cans, junk mail catalogs, that sort of thing, and we're hoping to have like some actual examples of that on the front. On the back of the sandwich boards, we thought we would put a lot of plastic bags, the different types of plastic bags that are supposed to go here in Medfield only to Shaw's. There are numerous other places that they can be brought, but apparently Shaw's is the only place here in Medfield. So we're going to have examples of like grocery store bags, baggies, bread bags, that sort of thing. So we're doing a little bit of research to find out exactly which types of plastic bags we can put on there. We also thought we would focus also on the fact that batteries need to have tape put on the positive end of them, and they get put into the shed there at the transfer station. Light bulbs also go into the shed. Now, we're not going to have that on our sandwich board because that obviously could cause a problem if it got broken. And we'd mention about the rigid plastic and the metal that goes out, the metal that goes into the back of the transfer station, and the rigid plastic that goes in those bins to the right of the blue building. We thought we'd try to hit a little bit on everything, even though our focus is plastic bags. And the focus really is to not have plastic bags in the single-stream recycling because, according to Harvey, it clogs up their machines, and so it cannot go there. So, okay. So we do have the sandwich boards made. We're in the process of making them. And we also wanted to pass out some kind of a brochure or a single sheet, perhaps, of information detailing like what I just said to you. I understand that the Solid Waste Committee does have someone working on a new brochure, but I'm not sure that it would be ready in time. So we thought perhaps we would just do something quick and hurry, just to pass out at the same time. We would like to be able to be at the transfer station on April 5th, as close to the recycling bins as we can be, without causing any obstruction of traffic, obviously. But we thought at the same time, like while we were there, we could pass things out to people. So I guess that's why I'm here, is to get permission to do that. And we don't have the brochure totally made up yet. We've only met twice so far, and we are meeting not this week, but next Wednesday. So I do believe we will have that firmed up. I think perhaps by the Tuesday before, even if you wanted me to come back then on the Tuesday before April 5th, I'm not sure, to give you the exact brochure, or whether I can just hand you a sheet now on stating what we think is going to be on it.
That's probably good, unless anyone has a don't think.
No, I think that's a good idea, because I've always had a question, for example, like the waxed cardboard. Originally, it was told can you put the waxed, like the orange juice containers?
Right.
Can those
Well,
go
yes,
in or not go in, or?
We're doing lots of research on that, and it appears that, yes, you could put the orange juice container or the milk container in the single-stream recycling, because basically it's made of cardboard. It has a little bit of plastic on it. What you wouldn't put into single-stream would be those big cardboard boxes you might get at like a liquor store where you're purchasing a lot of alcohol. Those have a lot more plastic on them, so they do not go into single-stream. But the orange juice containers and the milk containers, they do. And some of them even have like plastic covers on them also. I mean, that can go in too, because plastic is also going into single stream.
Okay.
'Cause I think that would be good.
So-
I think there's some questions on that. I didn't
Right.
know about the tape on the battery, so
Right,
things
right.
like that would be good, because I don't think people are 100% clear
Right,
what
right,
goes in,
right.
what doesn't go in.
Right. And so, I mean, that goes into the shed there at the transfer station. And I was told recently about that myself, that in the process of transporting it to wherever it goes, and I'm not sure about that, if batteries touched each other, it could cause some kind of an explosion or something. So that's why you want to tape them up.
Interesting.
And usually, like with any kind of tape, it can be plastic tape, but most of the ones that I'm seeing there seem to be with masking tape.
Yeah.
But just a little piece to cover it over.
Okay.
So, and I do go and check around town to see about the battery recycling that's happening in town, and if there is no if there is no tape on the batteries, I do mention to someone there, like at the schools, for example, because I substitute at the schools. So while I'm there, the environmental science teacher is involved in collecting batteries, and so she is supplying the actual tape to go in the box where people are donating their batteries. And so if they haven't put the tape on them, then when I'm substituting, I put the tape on them. So
I just think that's good to let them know. Ken is here. I don't know if he has the best spot for them to pass things out, or concerns you would have as to where to pass out, not to pass out, or anything like that.
No, there's plenty of room right there as they enter into the recycling area on the grass area.
Okay.
there's no problem then with standing close
Yeah,
to the recycling?
in the recycling area would be fine.
Okay.
Just don't obstruct the traffic.
Right.
They have to stop. Usually, like if you're down there on a Saturday, it'll be a little bit slow, and their windows will be down and stuff. You can hand them brochures and talk to them if you want.
Okay.
And it should be safe.
Right.
And it's just, and you have the grass areas where they can stand or put signs up and things like that.
Okay.
The only reason I wanted them to come to the Board of Selectmen is I didn't want them down there doing something and then get a call from the Board of Selectmen, what are they doing,
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's why I asked them to come to the Board of Selectmen.
And the committee is composed of 5 high school students and 3 adults, and definitely the high school students are into this. We were thinking of having shifts down there because someone can't stand there the whole
No,
day,
okay.
obviously. So we're thinking of 4 people at a time, 3 shifts, so that's 12 people. So some of the students are asking the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts as well to see if they could help out, but there will always be an adult there as well.
Good.
So one of the
Excellent.
3 of us will be there as well. So, yes, because safety is a priority, obviously.
Yeah.
We certainly don't want to be saving cardboard and harming a person. Yes.
We're getting picked off.
Nancy, for your handout, you might check with Medfield Green, because I think that they had a similar document.
Yes, yes. And is it Medfield Green? I guess I was thinking it was Solid Waste Committee that was doing it.
But there's also both.
It's both.
Megan Sullivan.
Megan Sullivan, yes, yes, and Barbara Meyer.
Yes.
So check
And
it.
I have seen that, actually, but they weren't sure they were going to be able to have it ready by
okay.
April 5th. That's why we didn't want to duplicate efforts, but we just thought we want to have something for that day for sure.
Good.
So,
Excellent.
but yes, we are checking with them. Thank you.
Nancy, one other question. The envelopes sometimes have the little window.
Yes, you can put that whole thing right in.
You can?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, that's different, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
The one thing to keep in mind on the juice cartons and the milk cartons is they need to be rinsed out, cleaned. It's like pizza boxes. They don't want, pizza box is clean, it's fine. If it's got cheese and
Yes,
Right.
sauce, you should just throw them with the regular trash. So.
Okay.
But that's true about everything, like the plastic and the glass and everything really should be rinsed out, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. if
Okay, so,
possible.
because my wife separates but the envelopes, they
Yes,
can go in
yes,
windows
yes,
and all,
yes.
okay.
I used to also, yes, but then I discovered that, when we went on a field trip to Harvey Recycling, and we brought all kinds of things with us, like the envelopes and the juice cartons, and we asked questions, and so they told us yes, no, yes, no. So
I think that'd be very helpful, because I don't think a lot of people understand what can go in and what cannot.
right. I think education is the key here, and it may take more than this one time, so yes. So whatever you'd like us to do, obviously, we're
And
here.
it changes over time, too. For example, they did add the milk cartons. A couple of years ago, you couldn't put the milk cartons in the juice cartons. But
Right.
now they do, so you have to keep up with it, too.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're quite
Thanks,
welcome.
Nancy.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.
We've got a few action items to go through. First is to take a vote to authorize Chairman Fisher to execute a grant agreement for the drop-off recycling food waste collection equipment consisting of rigid plastic containers.
So moved.
I'm unclear what that is. What is that?
It's a, if the rigid, the plastic slides and plastic toys and plastic barrels, it's a container to hold those, put
Yeah.
those in.
Oh, it's just a container, dump
Yeah.
them in, that a lot
Yeah.
of those are on the swap.
And there's
Right.
$1,000 in there for
Education
educational,
funds.
brochures and
Yeah,
publication.
from the
Right,
grant
okay.
here.
Yep.
Looks pretty good.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Board of Health is requesting the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Gabrielle Harrison as an associate member to the board.
So moved.
Great person, great choice. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The Solid Waste Study Committee is requesting the Selectmen vote to appoint Steve Catanese to the committee.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
We have a request from the High School Social Studies Program to use the town gazebo on March 23rd for a gathering of Medfield and Westwood students who are planning a service trip to the Dominican Republic in February.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Okay. Licenses and permits. The State Hospital Advisory Committee is requesting permission to place sandwich boards to promote the March 31st, 2014 town election.
So moved.
Second.
All in
Can I
favor?
just, the only concern, when you're coming down South Street to come on to 27, there's quite a few signs that are there, and if they're close to the street, they actually block the traffic there to see your vision, to look down. And sometimes you have such a split second to try to get out because the traffic is so bad there. We could just remind them if they could have them back from the street a little bit so it's not blocking the vision.
Yeah.
I don't know whether,
Just
yeah,
Don't block the vehicle.
Just if you're turning
Yeah,
right or
vision.
if you're turning left, or anything.
okay.
Turning left, Richard?
Second
Or-
on that.
Yeah, okay. All right, good. All in favor?
Aye.
The Medfield Music Association is requesting permission to place a sandwich board at the sidewalk jet out at North Street Route 109 to advertise the Jazz Round Town fundraiser that's going to take place on Saturday, April 12th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The Medfield Millis Norfolk Pop Warner football program is requesting permission to place signs at the designated locations from March 23rd to April 13th to promote registration.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
The organization Geared Up for Kids is requesting permission for a fundraising bicycle ride through a portion of Medfield on Sunday, May 18th, from 9:30 to 11.
So moved.
Is this gone through the chief?
Yes, it is. They made a note of
Okay.
that they highlighted. the-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
So that takes care of the licenses and permits, too. I know, Michael, we just wanted to comment a little bit. We've been actually going back all these different various drafts of the proposed legislation and stuff, right? And
Right. They've been flying fast and furiously all day. Steve Nolan has been working with his both town committees, Shack and Shirk, and with the DCAM Council, with the DOR Council, with Peg Stofa, to try to craft a final piece of legislation. They've almost got it done. There are 3 conditions that they might want some changes on that I believe they've sent. The AV mailed out. And Representative Garlick called about 4 o'clock this afternoon and asked if I would email her tonight to let her know that the selectmen were on board with the proposed legislation because she's meeting with House Counsel tomorrow morning to review it prior to submission. So if there are is there anything in that legislation that you're concerned about, would like added or subtracted, other than those 3 things that he mentioned is still under consideration? let me know, and if you would want to take a vote to support the filing of the legislation,
Yeah.
I can convey that to her.
I would move that we support the filing of the legislation as soon as possible. I think it's been unfortunately protracted unnecessarily, and that we should just try to get it in as quickly as we can. I think that
The issue I have, and I know we're under a gun here because you have a meeting coming up here, but it comes down to that Section 3, which was it was heavily debated at town meeting, and the town meeting clearly said they did not want to put anything that might hold up this legislation. Now, I understand that DCAM, if I'm correct, does not have a problem with the language. The language basically is that Section A1 and A2, and C also? Was C also
He's
in
also
that?
gonna
See,
have-
yes.
That it read that it shall remain open space for agriculture and passive recreational purposes. It made note being transferred to the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and I note one of the notes that Stephen had is that there might be some, DCAM might be also looking at the possibility to add Department of Agricultural agricultural resource as well in there. My concern is is this going to have any problem with the state legislature under such a gun to get this done by July 31st? Is this going to be the one thing that slows it down and then the whole process fails? Is there a way that Representative Garlick and Dooley and Senator Timothy I don't know, can give us a lead on this? I'm just nervous. The town meeting voted not to put this in, or at least express that view. And I just want to make sure that if this goes in, we end up losing the whole ball game. Versus, is this okay? Since DCAM is okay with it, is this okay with the legislature? I'm just real concerned with this, and I don't have a cut and dry answer from anyone here to guide me.
I did speak to Mary Beth Clancy yesterday. She said DCAM has no objection to that being in there. When I spoke to Representative Garlick today, I relayed your concern about that and suggested that perhaps our legislative delegation should use their best judgment in making a decision as to whether that would slow down or impede the passage of the legislation. She was also going to check with DCAM to make sure that they didn't have any objection to including it in there. And again, I suggested that she use her best judgment in terms of what was.
That's all we can probably hope for, because it goes into a black hole there a little bit anyways. It's kind of murky, so I think we have to
You
rely
just,
on
you
them.
have
Yes.
no clue
Rely
as
on
to
them
what
to
people
kind
are
of do their
going to
best
object to.
judgment.
Yes.
And no understanding as to how they're going to react, unfortunately, so
Yeah.
we just have to hope for the best, I think.
Am I correct, and maybe Bill can best answer that, am I correct that this is already protected? I was confused on that when that debate came up at town meeting.
This language that they just added isn't terribly different from what's already in the existing legislation. I suppose you could make an argument on either side of the case as to how strongly it stays, once the new legislation passes. But I'd be more worried about Section 8 and the issue on the easements and eminent domain and those kinds of things.
Well, that suddenly appeared yesterday, I think,
Yeah,
wasn't it? So
that was part of
No.
some of our emails back and forth today. And I tried to get some clarification to that. I mean, I don't understand why some of that's in there. They already have access to the parcels off of, there's one easement that stayed off of Harding in the water tower legislation. It still gave them that right there for an access road there. And they have access off, two places off of Hospital Road for parcel A2. And practically the whole length of Hospital Road on the A1 side for access. So we need to resolve that, I think. But that's one of the three areas that's up for question.
yeah,
Good.
I'd let it go.
The reality is that they're not going to put any easements onto the property. They'd have no reason to.
No, we wanted easements, I think, for,
We're going to get our easement for the water line.
For the water tower.
They're already there. There's an easement across the property that runs from Harding for the water tower, the water line from
The well fields.
the old well field.
Sure.
And we got that. We got all those easements as part of the well field legislation.
Sure.
So theoretically, they need no easements except the one that we gave them under the well field legislation for parcel A1, and they don't need anything for A2, so I mean, I don't understand what they're looking for.
I suspect they were probably much like us. We want to cover all our bases. They probably want to cover all their bases too, and make sure that they've not precluding themselves from doing something.
The other issue may be that the people that are putting this one together aren't terribly familiar with what's in the water tower legislation as well. So
That could be too.
we ran
Yeah.
into that a couple times.
Yeah.
All right, so did you want to?
And I apologize to the warrant committee and those here, but I just am very concerned on this, and without putting John Honey on a spot, I wonder, I'm just concerned on this. Section 3, do you see, I know you've been working with our legislative team, do you see any chance that this would become a stumbling block that could hold the whole process up?
I don't know. Mr. Sorgo, I think that really, this moved very swiftly today, clearly, and it's a surprise, frankly, I think to all of us, that it moved so swiftly. But the legislators haven't had a chance to look at this or to test the waters in there. We understand that there was some comment the other night at an affair in Needham to Representative Garlick that it wouldn't be a cakewalk, I guess. So that the more difficult we make it was the thesis that we used to move it quickly through the legislature, and rather than to burden it with any additional things. But if this works out this way, it's been a marvel, and it's a good thing. So I don't know. I will check with, I did call Representative Garlick today. I didn't get her, but I will probably tomorrow. And I'll talk to Senator Timely and see what their reaction is. I think they'll be gladdened by DCAM moving it so quickly, and that they will probably support it until they can't support it. That would be my reading of it.
Okay.
Good. Excellent. Would you like to make a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Aye. Excellent. All righty. That's good. So we'll keep moving so you can relay that to Denise.
Okay, I'll email, yep.
All right. All right, I think it is, we have our warrant committee here, so I think it's time for us to get out of here, leave the table and turn it over to Gus and everyone.
Welcome to everyone. What I'll do is briefly ask everyone on the warrant committee to introduce themselves. I'm Gus Murby. I'm the chairman of the warrant committee.
Michael Marcucci.
Barbara Gibbs,
Greg Sullivan.
Jim O'Shaughnessy.
Joanna Hilbert,
Tom Marie.
Martha Festa.
Nick Avancevis.
What we'll be doing this evening is holding a public hearing on the warrant articles that will be up for vote and discussion at the annual town meeting at the end of April. First, one point to cover here is the warrant committee has not yet taken positions on any of these articles, so our purpose today is to get any inputs that any of you may have that you would like us to take into consideration. One observation about the process this year that's a little different, at least than the time that I've been on the warrant committee, we have a little bigger gap from a budgetary standpoint to close this year than we have in years past. It's always a little bit like horseshoes in trying to get this thing wrestled down to the ground, but right now, in practical terms, the warrant committee is looking to close about a $750,000 gap between the total budgets that have been requested and what we would think of as the target that we need to hit in order to avoid an operating override. It's the intention of the warrant committee to do its best to get all budgets to the point where an operating override that will not be under consideration at the annual town meeting. We anticipate that a debt, Prop 2.5 debt override will definitely be considered because of some of the capital expenditures that are up for vote. So we will be holding the line on the operating side, but right now we have a bigger gap to close than is normally the case. One reason for that is not profligate spending by department heads. One of the things that we're trying to do this year, it's a pretty big deal, is one of the warrant articles is to pay for the initial design of the public safety building out of the normal operating expenses for the year rather than through a straight capital debt override. It makes a lot of sense to do that. By the time the town will have to look at a debt override to actually fund the construction of the public safety building, the expectation is that the price will be a lot firmer, which probably means that the amount that you'll be asked to approve in a debt override will be lower than it would otherwise be if we had to hedge our bets. So there's a good reason for doing it. but it's a pretty big one-year expenditure to swallow and make everything fit in, and we'll be wrestling with that. We're also, I think, practicing our batting order for the annual town meeting, so generally speaking, the warrant committee members that you hear announcing the different articles will probably be the same ones you'll hear at the annual town meeting. So with that, any other comments from anyone? Any initial comments from the floor? Why don't we start?
Start with Article 2, to see if the town will vote to accept the reports of the several town officers for the past year. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to accept the following named sums as perpetual trust funds for the care of lots in the Vine Lake Cemetery, and the interest thereof as may be necessary for said fees, and the names as listed in the warrant article. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to reauthorize a fire alarm revolving fund pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to be used for fire alarm maintenance, equipment or supplies, funds not to exceed $32,000 to come from the maintenance fee account, and to authorize the fire chief to expend from said funds to do or act or anything in relation thereto. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to reauthorize an ambulance revolving fund pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to be used for an ambulance revolving fund for payment of principal and interest cost on the ambulance and or purchase of a replacement ambulance, funds not to exceed $30,000 to come from the ambulance mileage fee account, and to authorize the fire chief to expand from said funds or to do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to reauthorize an advanced life support fund pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to be used for the payment of advanced life support charges, funds not to exceed $75,000 to come from the users of said services or their insurers, and to authorize the fire chief to expend from said funds or do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to reauthorize a community gardens revolving fund pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to be used for payment of expenses for the operation of the community gardens program, funds not to exceed $1,500 to come from registration fees paid by gardeners, and to authorize the town administrator to expend from said funds or do or act or anything in relation thereto. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to reauthorize a rental income revolving fund pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to be used for the processing of rental receipts and associated expenditures for the center at Medfield, funds not to exceed $30,000, and to authorize the Council on Aging and or its executive director to expend from said funds or do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to reauthorize a library revolving fund pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to be used for the payment of costs associated with the providing photocopier printer services to library users, with costs associated with providing after-hours use of public meeting space to community organizations, and for payment of costs associated with replacement lost or damaged materials, funds not to exceed $5,000 to come from the fees charged for use of photocopier printers, from fees charged for use of meeting rooms after regular hours, and from the fees charged for the replacement of lost or damaged materials, and to authorize the library director to expend from said funds or do or act in relation thereto. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to reauthorize a respite care revolving fund pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to be used for the payment of costs associated with the operation of a respite care program at the center at Medfield, funds not to exceed $50,000 to come from fees charged for participation in the program, grants, gifts, or such other funds as might be made available for this purpose, and to authorize the Council on Aging and or its executive director to expend from said funds or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Questions, comments?
Good.
Article 11, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of the final paragraph of General Law, Chapter 59, Section 522, which reduces the residency requirement for certain veterans' real estate tax exemptions from 5 years to 1 year, or to do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 12, To see if the town will vote to accept for fiscal year 2015 the provisions of Section 4 of Chapter 73 of the Acts of 1986, in accordance with and subject to the provisions of said Section 4, providing for an additional exemption for a taxpayer who shall otherwise qualify for exemption under clauses 17D, 22, 22A, 22B, 22C, 22D, 22E, 37A, 41C, 42, or 43 of Section 5 of Chapter 59 of the General Laws, or to do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to accept General Law, Chapter 60A, Section 1, Paragraphs 6 and 7 and 8, exempting from motor vehicle excise tax qualifying active and full-time military members or veterans with qualifying disabilities, or do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to accept General Law, Chapter 60A, Section 9, to permit deferral of motor vehicle excise tax for a member of the Massachusetts National Guard or reservist or dependent of a member of the National Guard or reservist for up to 180 days after completion of that service, or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Questions or comments on those articles that all have linkage to our military?
Article 15, to see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of the following elected officials: moderator, town clerk, selectmen, assessors, school committee, trustees of the public library, park and recreation commissioners, planning board, housing authority, and trust fund commissioners, and do or act anything in relation thereto. At the salaries presently listed for each of those positions, warrant committee is actually refraining from a recommendation until we, on town clerk at this point, until we meet with the personnel board. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to amend the personnel administration plan and classification of positions and pay schedule effective July 1st, 2014, as set out in the warrant, or do and act anything in relation thereto. Once again, this will be determined, the specifics, after the meeting with the personnel board.
Article 17, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds sums of money requested by the selectmen or any other town officer, board, commission, or committee to defray operating expenses of the town for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2014, or such other sums as the town may determine as required by General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 108, or to do or act anything in relation thereto. As this relates to the operating budgets, I am now going to read the requested operating budgets. There's a sheet in the back entitled Town of Medfield Fiscal Year 2015 Warrant Committee Tracking Sheet. That's going to sound remarkably similar to the numbers that I read. If anyone wants a discussion of any particular line item, just please indicate by saying hold after I read it. And so we'll begin. Workers' compensation insurance, $219,016. Life insurance, $10,920. Health insurance, $3,886,076. Property and liability insurance, $144,000. Fire and EMT medical disability insurance, $18,000. Indemnification for retired police, $8,000. Unemployment compensation, $30,000. Medicare federal mandates, $412,000. County retirement, $1,720,395. Town debt principal, $4,371,515. Town debt interest, $1,245,427. Selectmen, $11,025. Town administrator, $857,668. Warrant committee, $300. Town accountant, $151,184. Assessors, $112,225. Treasurer, tax collector, $161,154. Town council, $82,021. Human resources, $31,753. Information technology, $115,200. Town clerk, election registration, $93,558. Conservation Commission, $36,949. Planning Board, $83,790. Zoning Board of Appeals, $5,000. Town Hall, $91,261. Town Report and Town Meeting, $8,563. Police Administration, $99,320. Police Operations, $2,289,690. Traffic markings and signs, $68,000. School traffic, $50,478. Fire and Rescue Administration, $134,066. Fire and Rescue Operations, $827,800. Inspection Department, $115,737. Sealer, $2,662. MEMA Civil Defense, $14,585. Animal Control Officer, $98,906. Tree Care, $62,702. Highway, $1,227,049. Snow and Ice, $274,832. Streetlights, $46,260. Town Garage, $11,203. Equipment Repair and Maintenance, $284,568. Sidewalks, $20,000. Public Works Utilities, $113,400. Solid Waste Disposal, $643,129. Board of Health, $55,321. Public Health, $8,921. Mental Health, $7,988. Council on Aging, $215,799. Veterans, $48,983. Outreach, $121,439. Library, $701,296. Parks and Recreation, $310,091. Historical Commission, $1,500. Grave Markers and Flags, $2,000. Memorial Day, Veterans Day, $2,320. Stabilization Fund, $300,000. Reserve Fund, $150,000. Water Department, $890,840. Sewer Department, $968,982. School Vocational, $167,032. Schools, $29,082,660. And that's the end. All right. No holds. We'll go on to Article 18.
Just on the selectmen's budget there, that increase, I believe that reflects the Cultural Commission's request for 4,000 plus of matching funds. Ben, I think you also said there's an article that stands alone.
Yep, this-
Which is which there?
This increase does not include that 4,250. At one point, in your initial submission, it had it. When we realized it was on both its own article, and I think, this is better for the selectmen to speak, but I think because the Cultural Council has a request for $4,250 funded from the town, which I think will be matched by the state to promote the cultural improvement, I guess, in the town. I think it's been the historic practice of the selectmen, which it could easily have gone into the selectmen budget on their discretion, but with something like that, that's kind of a new expenditure, I think it's been the practice of the selectmen to let the town know about it, vote on it, before it becomes part of an ongoing budget. So that's why it came out of the budget, as I understand it.
Gus, I was wondering if it would make sense to add some clarification on the water budget this year, just because of the difference in the way we're handling that budget. It shows a decrease here, it's supposed to be every year, but adding context to that might be helpful.
Sure. If you want to, you can speak far more authority.
Willis.
Okay.
Please do.
Whenever you want clear water, you go to a member of the water board, you don't sit there and speak.
No, the reason I bring this up is because we're doing something different with the water budget this year. We're classifying what had historically been all operating budget into two different categories, operating and capital. So when we see a decrease listed year over year, that doesn't necessarily reflect from a perspective of, do you want to look year over year? There is a decrease because we have reclassified, we've taken money out of the operating budget and we've moved it into a category of capital budget. So when you see a decrease here, don't think that necessarily we're decreasing the water budget. I didn't want people to think we're not taking care of your water supply here. Okay?
It might be fair to say that the water department as a whole is moving toward a more disciplined way of managing finances.
I'll let you say that.
Okay.
So for the capital budget, Article 18, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from the fiscal 2015 tax levy and/or transfer from available funds and/or borrow for capital expenditures, including the following. Now, it's identified in this sheet as capital budget recommendations. These are not recommendations. These are the requests, and I'll read them in the same fashion as the operating budget. And please just indicate a hold if you want to discuss any particular request. Board of Selectmen, Town Hall roof replacement, $20,000. Gazebo roof replacement, $8,000. Information Technology permit software for building cemetery planning, $25,000. Library lighting system retro pendant lighting, $33,346. Fire Department upgrade thermal imaging cameras, $15,000. Replacement of protective clothing, $20,000. Council on Aging, purchase and install professional sound system, $13,000. Conservation Commission, land acquisition and management, $50,000. School Department wheel-lock front entry parking lot restoration, $96,680. Masonry repairs, $44,500. Remove, abate, retile 3 classrooms, $29,700. Middle school auditorium seat repair replacement, $13,825. Data center UPS, $27,000. High school resurface tennis courts, $23,000. Replace van, $44,000. Police Department satellite receiver, $70,000. Ford utility vehicle, $38,000. Policy and procedure manual, $8,000. Public Works highway resurface subdivisions, $40,000. Mini-track asphalt paver, $36,000. Kubota M1088 SHDC tractor, $127,855. Flint sander number LMHC 5H, $22,170. 2000 Ford 250 truck, $41,522. Chapter 90 Cat 908H2 compact loader, $86,500. Chapter 90 Mack GU 713 snowplow, $157,800. Chapter 90 2015 Cat 930K, $144,711. Chapter 90 Elgin Pelican NP dual street sweeper, $186,585. Sewer Enterprise, replace sewer grates and valves, $36,000. Replace pumps, tub wreck drive, $30,000. Infiltration inflow DEP mandate, $50,000. Replace pumps, trailside way, $35,000. Parks and Recreation concession and bathroom building, foundation and utilities, $30,000. That's it.
Okay.
Article
Keep
19.
moving on to Article 19.
Article 19, to see if the town will vote to transfer $207,155 from sewer betterment paid in advance to the Sewer Stabilization Fund, established under Article 31 of the 2004 Annual Town Meeting, in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, as amended by Chapter 46 of the Acts of 2003, or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 20, incidentally, Mark Sorrell, I talked to earlier today, said we don't actually have to read all of these articles in their entirety, so I'll read part of it, but give a more informal example. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to transfer $33,550 from the FY14 county retirement contribution budget to the unfunded retiree health insurance stabilization fund, and appropriate the said fund from free cash or other sources, such other sum as the town deems appropriate for the purpose of setting aside monies to cover the unfunded retiree health insurance costs in accordance with the law. For the past several years, this is the OPEB funding article. For the past several years, the town has been putting a continually increasing amount of money in to close the gap on our long-term funding requirements for retiree pension benefits and also health care benefits. So this article has shown up for several years. Our plan has been to try to continually work to increase that annual contribution until we get it to where it needs to be to put us on a path to close that gap. Last year we put $375,000 in there. We're still working out what that final number will be for this year. I'm reasonably confident the number will ultimately prove to be somewhere between $375,000 and $500,000. Depending on where we are in that $750,000 gap that we have to close. But it's money that's not a lot of fun to spend, but it's money that goes toward fulfilling a town's obligation to its retirees. And the longer you wait, the more painful it is. So we've been trying to move ahead on that for several years now. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to accept MGL Chapter 32B, Section 20, authorizing establishment of an other post-employment benefits liability trust fund or do or act anything in relation thereto. Every other year, or every 3 years, the town is now obligated to have an actuary project the long-term financial obligations of this OPEB funding. That actuary has particular methods that they use to project what the likely value of whatever we put into those funds are and what the likely returns are. The way the law reads and the procedures work, the actuary will provide us with a higher projected return on our contribution if we put that contribution into what effectively is an irrevocable trust, so that once the town is funded and put money into that fund, everyone knows that's where it's going. This is an article that authorizes the town to establish that kind of a trust. It doesn't actually establish the trust, but it authorizes the town to do so. and so that we'll be able to basically put our money in a position that will give us the best credit toward moving to close that gap on that long-term liability.
Article 22, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Conservation Commission to enter into leases of portions of conservation land off Plain Street known as the Holmquist Farm Conservation Land, identified on the Board of Assessors map as map 12, lots 4, 5, 8, 9, and 14 for periods not to exceed 20 years for agricultural and/or other conservation-related uses, including but not limited to organic farming and/or organic cooperative farming, or to do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 23, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money and determine in what manner said sum shall be raised for the purpose of preparing construction plans and documents and such other reports or tests as may be needed for a public safety building, or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 24, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money and determine in what manner said funds shall be raised and authorize borrowing under the provisions of the general law, or any other enabling statute, and authorized by eminent domain, or otherwise the acquisition of such easements in private property as may be necessary, and to authorize the treasurer-collector, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to issue bonds for the purpose of constructing a replacement water tower and associated water mains at the site of the former Medfield State Hospital, and in such public ways as may be necessary to connect the to so-called Well 6 located off North Meadows Road, and to other water mains in the distribution system, and to authorize the Water and Sewerage Commission to enter into contracts with private parties, the federal government, and/or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to accomplish said purposes, or do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $139,207, said sum to be transferred from the Water Enterprise Fund unrestricted fund balance to the General Fund Stabilization Fund to reimburse the General Fund Stabilization Fund for monies appropriated under Article 2 of the October 2013 special town meeting to pay for design of water tower and associated water mains, or do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money from the Sewer Enterprise Fund for the purposes of conducting an inflow study and for inspecting, repairing, and upgrading the sewer infrastructure, or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Before I read Article 27, the Warrant Committee wanted to understand if this article is still going to go in the warrant articles. This was we heard rumors that it may not stay on, so we just wanted to
I think this question is directed to Parks and Rec.
Yes, it is.
Parks and Rec commissioners are here.
This is the Lot 3 article.
It was, the Warrant Committee has been hearing rumors that this article may not make it to the ballot. So we're trying to understand if that's still the case.
Are you planning to withdraw this article?
Yeah, we've yet to meet officially. Our next meeting is next Wednesday. It will be on the agenda.
So should I not read it?
So
Go ahead.
I guess it's on, so we should read it, but you should understand the likelihood is that based on the early, but not yet official actions of the Park and Rec Board, it's likely this article will be withdrawn.
Okay, Article 27, to see if the town will vote to transfer care, custody, maintenance, and control of parcel of land of Ice House Road, shown as on the Board of Assessors maps as map 56, lot 44, from the Board of Selectmen to the Park and Recreation Commissioners for recreational purposes, or take any other action related thereto. Article 28, to determine whether the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into a ground lease with private developers for the whole or any portion thereof of a parcel of land off Ice House Road, shown on the Board of Assessors map as map 56, lot 44, for a period not to exceed 99 years on such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen deem to be the best interests of the town of Medfield, and if deemed necessary or desirable, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the Massachusetts General Court to enact special legislation authorizing the town of Medfield to enter into such leases or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 29, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money and determine in what manner said sum shall be raised to provide funding to the Medfield Cultural Council to enable it to expend funds for public purposes, including but not limited to organizing, presenting, sponsoring, and supporting artistic and cultural exhibitions, performances, and events, and to authorize the Medfield Cultural Council to contract with individuals and organizations for any of said purposes, and to create a new town account with a separate line item in the town's annual operating budget to reflect this vote, or do or act anything in relation hereto. We have not yet met with the Medfield Cultural Council. We are doing so next week.
Article 30, to see if the town will vote to amend town bylaws, Article 1, Town Meetings, Section 4, by striking the following language: one speaker may speak in favor of an article or warrant committee recommendation, and one from those wishing to speak against the speaker may speak to the meeting for 2 minutes each at a time or times deemed appropriate by the moderator. The town meeting may extend the time for speaking or the number of speakers by majority vote, and replacing it with the following language: the time for speaking and the number of speakers shall be in the sound discretion of the moderator, subject to an appropriate motion to limit discussion, and to authorize the town clerk to take any action necessary to format this new bylaw to fit within the new codification of the town's existing bylaws approved by this town meeting, or do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to codify the Town of Medfield Charter, bylaws, and regulations to create a more uniform presentation, organized topical structure, reader-friendly format to aid searches, and convenient format for inserting future amendments, including renumbered outline format, insertion of headings and subheadings. Such codification shall be in the following 3 parts. 1, the town charter unchanged. 2, the town general and zoning bylaws reorganized, renumbered, and reformatted. And 3, regulations and guidelines of various town boards, commissions, and departments in a separate division. All as set forth in a document entitled Medfield Recodification, Final Draft, February 2014, showing text to be inserted, underlined, and text to be deleted in the margins, on file in the office of the town clerk and available on the town's website, or do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 32, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Medfield bylaws as set forth in the warrant article. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Medfield zoning bylaw as set forth in the warrant article.
Article 34, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw of the Town of Medfield to add a new Section 19, large-scale solar photovoltaic overlay district, which would establish a by right use for solar photovoltaic generating facilities in the industrial extensive district, and it will allow solar photovoltaic generating facilities by special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals in any other zoning district in accordance with the zoning amendment. Copies of which are on file at the town's clerk office in the Medfield Town Hall, the Memorial Public Library, and at the annual town meeting. And to authorize the town clerk to renumber or take any other action necessary to format this new bylaw to fit within the new codification of the town's existing bylaws approved by this town meeting, or do or act anything in relation thereto. Article 35, to see if the town will vote to enact Article 20 of the Town of Medfield bylaws entitled Stretch Energy Code for the purpose of regulating the design and construction of buildings for the effective use of energy pursuant to Appendix 115.AA of the Massachusetts Building Code 780 Commonwealth Massachusetts regulations. The Stretch Energy Code, including future additions, amendments, or modifications thereto, a copy of which is on file in the office of the town clerk, and to authorize the town clerk to renumber or take any other actions necessary to format this new bylaw to fit within the new codification of the town's existing bylaws approved by this town meeting, or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 36, to see if the town will vote to amend the town bylaws, Article 4, Police Regulations, by adding a new Section 33 entitled Public Consumption of Marijuana and/or Tetrahydrocannabinol Prohibited, as set forth in the warrant article.
That's actually going to become Section 35. It's already 33 and 34.
Well, that changes everything.
Fair enough.
Score 2 points for the codification program here. Article 37, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money and determine in what manner said sum shall be raised for the purpose of hiring consultants, engineers, and/or attorneys to advise the town on matters concerning the disposition and reuse and/or the environmental site remediation of the former Medfield State Hospital property. Said funds to be expended under the direction of the Board of Selectmen, with the understanding that the Board of Selectmen may authorize any other town board, commission, committee, or department to expend a portion of said funds for such purposes or do or act anything in relation thereto. This is, again, the article that has showed up for several years now to fund the town's involvement with the state hospital property. In the ongoing evolution of that work, I believe the estimate for the environmental remediation in the coming year is about $25,000. Was an estimate I think, Mike, you got from John Thompson around the likely cost on the environmental side. Assuming a positive vote in the election at the end of this month related to the town's purchase, I would expect this would be the article that would also be providing the funding for whatever development activities the town would embark upon in FY15. So it's still there, it's just the purpose may shift.
Article 38, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money and determine in what manner said sum shall be raised for the purpose of constructing a pocket park on a parcel of town-owned land between Starbucks and Zebras, shown on the Board of Assessors maps as map 43, lot 022. Said design and construction to be done under the direction of the Board of Selectmen or its designee, and to vote to officially designate the appellation by which said park will be known, or do or act anything in relation thereto. And Article 39, to see if the town will vote to accept the gift of an easement on lot 073, map 23 of the Assessor's maps and recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, from Stephen J. and Melissa S. Bisciotti, 7 Wild Holly Lane, said easement running from Wild Holly Road to a parcel of town-owned conservation land, shown on the Assessor's maps as lot 031, map 29, said easement to be set as set out in the warrant report, or to do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 40, to see if the town will vote to authorize the trustees of the Memorial Public Library to apply for, accept, and expend any state grants which may be available for a feasibility study for the current and future needs of the Memorial Public Library and/or a library building planning and design project, and to further vote to appropriate a sum of $25,000 and determine in what matter said sum shall be raised for a public library feasibility study grant match for the purpose of making funds available to the trustees to be able to apply for matching state grant funds for a library feasibility study, provided that such appropriation is contingent upon receipt of a state grant to do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 41, to see if the town will vote to accept a gift from R. Edward and Margaret D. Beard, trustees of Good Earth Realty, of a parcel of land located between the currently constructed Pine Street and the accepted layout of Pine Street. Said parcel located in the vicinity of 100 Pine Street and identified on the Medfield Assessor's map as map 66, parcel 011, or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 42, to see if the town will vote to authorize Board of Selectmen to accept a confirmatory instrument, make a confirmatory taking by eminent domain, or take any other action they deem necessary to confirm the town's ownership of an unimproved 5 3/4 acre parcel of land on Harding Street, originally acquired by deed, dated July 25, 2005, and recorded at Norfolk County Registry of Deeds, which deed contained a legal description referencing a recorded plan which included an inaccurate boundary description, which inaccuracy has since been corrected by an amended plan entitled Amended Plan of Land in Medfield, Massachusetts. My understanding of this is that on the map, the two lines did not connect on the boundary, so there's this one spot that's not specified, and it's correcting a line mistake on a map.
The county engineers did the work for us in the first place. This was brought to their attention. It's actually the boundary's a stone wall, and there's a bound set in the wall that must have been out of kilter or something. So they went ahead, they've already gone ahead and done an amended plan and put it on record at the registry. Now we have to catch up with them.
Article 43, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws, Section 5, use regulations, to change the name Medical Marijuana Treatment Facility to Medical Marijuana Dispensary, and to authorize the town clerk to take any action necessary to format this amended bylaw to fit within the new codification of the town's existing bylaws approved by this town meeting, or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 44, to see if the town will vote to accept the provision of General Law, Chapter 64L, Section 2A, imposing a local sales tax on the sale of restaurants, meals, originating within the town of Medfield at the rate of 0.75% on the gross receipts, or do or act anything in relation thereto.
Article 45, I guess it should read to see if the town will authorize the Board of Assessors to use a sum of money from free cash in the treasury for the reduction of the tax rate for fiscal year 2015, or do or act anything in relation thereto. That's Mike Sullivan's special calculation.
Is there any general advice, opinions, or guidance that anyone out here would like to give the Ward Committee as we finish our work?
Can you give us some idea on Article 23, Public Safety Building? Article 24, the water tower. I understand the one is only for the plans and the other is for actual construction.
Sure. So you're looking for the amount, likely amount?
Within a reasonable range, yeah.
I mean, I can give some, Mike might know better the actual total amounts. Tim Bonfadian.
You want this?
On the annual building committee. So we appropriated at the last town meeting a sum of money to start the design of the police fire station. And this is a sum to continue the design and finish it and get bids on it so that we can come to a town meeting with the actual bids in hand. And I think the amount, Mike, is $1 million.
The amount we appropriated last year was $500,000. The amount we're looking for this year is $850,000. It's $1,350,000 total.
Right.
And that will bring us through the bidding phase with a bid price on it.
Did I answer your question, John?
And the other one was the water tower, John?
Is that like $3 million?
Yes. Ken or Willis would like to comment on the water tower.
The water tower that we're proposing and 2 miles of water main will improve the water quality in the town. We've had some serious bacteria problems at the old State Hospital tower, so it's 15 feet lower, and basically the tower doesn't move during the summer months, and that festers to some bacteria problems that we've been getting lately. So we're proposing to have one equal to the height of Mount Nebo, and to connect that into the system and loop it properly, we're going to run 2 miles of 12-inch water main. I believe the estimated cost right now, and we haven't got that hard number yet, I thought was $4.6 million. That would be bonded in over 20 years.
I just wanted to point out, as you know, there's a codification of the town bylaws ongoing, and there's 3 articles specifically related to that. And so you've got the general one that will just make the codification happen. And what cannot be changed at all is the charter. So the charter is just, because that's an elaborate process even for editorial changes. So the charter will just be included in that, and then there's the authorization to codify everything else. And there's 2 articles. One is because the committee wants to go ahead and make some changes of varying degrees. Some of them are just housekeeping, some of them are a little more substantive. So one article is for general bylaws and the other is for zoning bylaws. Compounding that is the fact that several other town boards have brought forth warrant articles that would make amendments to existing bylaws or add to existing bylaws outside that codification. Well, the codification isn't in place yet. So those have to be in reference to what we now have on the books, and that's why you see in some cases authorization with the town clerk to subsequently make it fit into the codification, assuming the codification passes. And we may, where's Scott? I saw him somewhere. Oh, okay. We may have to talk about the order in which all this gets taken up so that it doesn't get worse than it already is.
Admirable goal.
And we know the moderator never wants town meeting to be worse than it already is. Other comments, inputs to the Ward Committee? Okay, thank you very much for coming out for the public hearing. We'll give the selectmen the meeting room back.
This program was made possible through the generous support of your Medfield friends and neighbors, folks just like you. And thanks for watching.